Hello there. In this video we're going to continue our discussion of rational functions. So if you do not know just the basics, I definitely suggest you check out the previous video in the series on rational functions, because in this video we're going to be focusing on a little bit more of advanced treatments, not really advanced but more intermediate difficulty types of things like slant asymptotes and things like that. And we're also going to be looking at how to find, say, vertical and horizontal intercepts of these types of rational functions as well. Alright, to start off, let's consider our first example. Let's consider the rational function f of x is equal to 12x plus 5 divided by 3x minus 2. So first off, the degree of the top and bottom are equal to each other. So in order to perform some basic transformations, long division will work appropriately for this type of function. So we're going to divide 3x minus 2 into 12x plus 5. So once we do that, 3x times what gives us 12x? So of course that's going to be 4. And then we're going to multiply that by 3x minus 2. And that's going to give us 12x minus 8. From here, we're just going to go and subtract that. So we're going to have 5 plus 8, which is going to be 13. So this is going to give us an alternative representation for our function f of x. So our quotient in this case is going to be 4. And then we're going to have a remainder of 13 divided by our divisor 3x minus 2. So this is all our alternative representation for our function. So this is going to correspond to our horizontal asymptote value, and the denominator value of 2/3 is going to give us our vertical asymptote value. So let's just sketch that out. Alright, so we're going to have a horizontal asymptote of y is equal to 4 and x is equal to 2/3 is going to be our vertical asymptote. So we're going to have something. So since our leading coefficient is positive 13, we're going to be in the quasi-quadrants of 1 and 3. So we're going to be somewhere down here and then somewhere up here. So remember the red curve approaches the yellow and blue but never touches it. Right? So let me actually draw this a little bit more illustrative of that idea. So we should have something more like that. Alright, so that's just a sketch of this function. So let's add a little bit more detail to this, and let's actually find what the value of the y-intercept is, and also what the x-intercept value is as well. Alright, so let's go for the y-intercept. Typically that's easy to find. So y-intercepts can always be found by plugging in 0 into our function. So I'm just going to plug this into our original value. So this is going to be equal to 12 times 0 plus 5, all divided by 3 times 0 minus 2. So that's of course just going to be equal to negative 5 halves, which is going to be equal to negative 2.5. So this point right here corresponds to 0 comma negative 5 halves. So that's going to be our y-intercept. Let's go for our x-intercept now. So x-intercepts can be found by setting the curve equal to 0 and finding the value of x that corresponds to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set our transformed version, namely 4 plus 13 over 3x minus 2. I'm going to set this equal to 0. This is going to be a little bit more easier to solve. So I'm going to subtract both sides by 4 and then multiply both sides by 3x minus 2. So that's going to give us negative 4 multiplied by 3x minus 2 is going to be equal to 13. Then I'm going to just distribute that out. So we're going to have negative 12x plus 8 is equal to 13. So of course x is going to be equal to 13 minus 8 over negative 12, which is going to be equal to negative 5/12. Right? So this is going to be the location of our x-intercept. So this is going to be equal to negative 5/12, comma 0. So that's a little bit more of a detailed sketch of our rational function f. Alright, so let's look at a more intricate example of rational functions. This time we're going to consider g of x is equal to, let's do x squared minus 5x plus 1 divided by x minus 2. So now the degree of our numerator is at least 1 higher than our denominator. So you're going to actually see that this type of function is actually going to look a little bit different than the other examples that I performed. So I'm going to begin by doing long division just like I did with the previous example. So we're just going to divide x minus 2 into x squared minus 5x plus 1 just to see another easier representation of what this actually looks like. Alright, so x times x is going to give us x squared, and then I'm just going to multiply that through. So that's going to give us x squared minus 2x, and then I'm just going to subtract that off. So negative 5x plus 2x is going to give us negative 3x plus 1. And then I'm just going to repeat this process just one more time. X times minus 3 is going to give us negative 3x, and then multiplying that down is going to give us negative 3x plus 6. Then I'm just going to subtract that. I'm going to have 1 minus 6. That's going to give us negative 5. So there's our quotient, there's our remainder, and there's our divisor. So an alternative representation for g is going to be equal to x minus 3 minus 5 over x minus 2. So this is going to be a little bit more easier to interpret. So clearly we can see from this expression that x cannot be equal to 2. So this is going to correspond to a vertical asymptote of x is equal to 2. So that's extremely important because that's a crucial piece of information in our graph. Now, what happens as x tends to infinity? So as x tends to infinity, this portion here is going to get extremely small and go to 0. But this portion as x tends to infinity is going to increase in a linear fashion. So as x tends to infinity, g of x is going to be pretty much equal to x minus 3. So this is what we call a slant asymptote. So as before, usually this was a constant function if the top was only the same or less degree than the bottom one was, right? So as x got big, pretty much it behaved like a constant function, but in this case it's behaving like a linear function. So sort of how does that incorporate into our graph? So we have a slant asymptote and a vertical asymptote. All right, so let's sketch this out. Try and get an idea of what's going on here. All right, so we have x is equal to 2, so that's not a big deal. So 1, 2. So here's our x is equal to 2 vertical asymptote. So there's our x-axis, g of x-axis. And I'm also going to graph the line x minus 3 here. So what does x minus 3 look like? So 1, 2, 3. So x minus 3 is just going to be, so y equals x minus 3. Just the line that's going to go up with a slope of 1 and a y-intercept of 3. Let's see if we can get what the x-intercept is for that. So I'm going to set y is equal to 0, so I'm going to get that x is equal to 3. So I'm just going to graph this line here. All right. So this is the line y is equal to x minus 3. So this is going to be our slant asymptote. Let's just erase these little details. All right, so what does our curve look like? So if we look at our function here, our leading coefficient for our rational term is going to be negative. So typically it's in quasi-quadrants 1 and 3. So it's upside down, so now we're going to be in quadrants 2 and 4. So notice that our quadrants are not necessarily perpendicular to one another, but these two axes, blue and green, sort of still partition R2 into 4 pieces, or quadrants rather. Just those quadrants are not necessarily equal in this case. Right? So if we sketch out those particular details, then we're going to have a curve over in this region, and we're going to have a curve over in this region. So pretty much what we have going on here is that this blue line is going to approach the vertical green line as x gets close to it from the left and right, and also as x gets big, in the negative and positive directions, it's pretty much going to behave like a linear function, and it's pretty much going to get closer and closer to this dashed blue line. All right, so that's just a basic idea of slant asymptotes. So let's go ahead and get the y-intercepts, right? So the y-intercepts is going to be when x is equal to 0. So of course g of 0 is going to be equal to 0 squared minus 5 times 0 plus 1 all over 0 minus 2. So that's just going to be equal to negative 1/2. So this is slightly not drawn to scale, so let's just rescale that back. So negative 1/2, so it's more like, should have a little bit more of a curvy style to it. So that's just going to be negative 1/2. So negative 1/2, right? So now we have possibly, if our sketch is actually accurate, 2 x-intercepts, right? So we have this value, which I'm just going to call x1, and this value right here, which is going to be x2. So how can we find them? So x-intercepts are found when we set the expression equal to 0. So 0 is going to be equal to x squared minus 5x plus 1 all over x minus 2. So this expression is going to be equal to 0 if and only if the numerator is equal to 0. So therefore we're going to solve the quadratic equation x squared minus 5x plus 1 is equal to 0. So quadratic formula will work pretty well here. So x is going to be equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, which just simplifies to 5 plus or minus the square root of 21 all over 2, right? So x1 is going to be the lesser of the two, right? At least by my notation. So x1 is going to be the lesser, x2 is going to be the greater of the two. So therefore x1 is going to be equal to 5 minus the square root of 21 over 2, and x2 is going to be equal to 5 plus the square root of 21 over 2. So if you want to make your graph a little bit more accurate, you have to have some idea of what's going on with the square root of 21. So remember, the square root of 21 is in between the square root of 25 and the square root of 16. So that means the square root of 21 is in between 4 and 5. Right? So if we have a number that's strictly between 4 and 5, that means 5 minus that number is always positive. So this number is positive and this number is positive. So in regards to our sketch is actually pretty accurate since both of our x-intercepts lie to the right of our y-axis, right? And we can label these points on there if we want to. Now, of course, these rational functions can definitely get extremely more complicated than this. So I'm just going to pretty much leave this type of rational function alone. And I'm going to end with this last example, which is going to surround the primary function f of x is equal to 1 over x squared. So if you can perform the same analysis as we did for 1 over x, you'll realize that this curve is going to pretty much look like this. It's pretty much like a volcano curve, right? So let's just look at a basic transformation of this rational function that is actually going to have at least vertical asymptotes with multiplicity 2, right? So let's look at the function g of x is equal to, let's do something basic like x squared minus 4. So it's very easy to see that we're going to have two vertical asymptotes, namely at 2 and negative 2. And it's also very easy to see that as x gets big, we're going to have a horizontal asymptote of y is equal to 0 as well. So pretty much, what does this curve look like? So we have pretty much 6 regions here, and we want to know when it is in those regions, or maybe it even splits. So we know g of x is going to be greater than 0 if and only if x squared minus 4 is greater than 0. And we know that x squared minus 4 is a parabola that is facing upwards. So it's going to be positive if and only if x is less than negative 2 or x is bigger than 2. There is no other time that this is going to happen. Also, g of 0 is going to be equal to negative 1/4, so that gives us some information about the y-intercept. So therefore it's going to pass down here. It's going to be negative, and you can sort of test these behaviors out. but you should get something similar to this. Again, rational functions can definitely be a lot more complicated if I slightly change these examples, but we're not going to spend the time on those details now. And anyway, I hope this